Learn something French!
Hi, welcome to episode number 4 of Learn Something French, the blog for learners of French of all ages, skill and ability who want to learn something French. My name's Chris and I'm a French teacher at We Communicate. Today I went on a teenage forum for native speakers of French and I found a question that was left in the forum yesterday, in fact, so it's quite recent. And I wanted to analyse it because I thought it might be interesting to catch a glimpse of what native speakers do, and especially teenagers. Because you might know that when you learn a language there's a graduation in terms of difficulty. The hardest part is of course to understand classical literature, the works of literature or scientific writing. But the level after that is to understand teenage speak, of course. And that's sort of like the final boss of any language. It's the way teenagers use their own native language. So I propose we look at this question and we'll analyse it together. I'll read it 3 times and I'll translate it. And the question's coming up on the screen now. Je voulais savoir si des personnes avaient des croyances aux esprits, car c'est assez commun, mais il n'y a pas quand même beaucoup de monde. La plupart du temps, les personnes se moquent de ça en mode c'est comme si SOS fantôme existe et ne respectent pas du tout la croyance. So I'd like to ask the question, especially to the advanced speakers of French. Did you get any of this? I told you it was the final boss of French. Did you get any of this? I'll read it. I'm not having a laugh. I'm not having a go. I find it I find it interesting. Frankly, I find it culturally interesting for anyone interested in French to see what native speakers do, teenagers, how they use their own language. And I'd like to dedicate this to all those teachers and learning platforms who boldly promise learn French in 2 hours, 2 days or 2 months with minimal effort. And as you can see, it's challenging to understand because you could make the argument that even native speakers find it hard to use their own language properly. And they're in school full time learning French, and you see what the result is. So I'll read it a second time. Je voulais savoir si des personnes avaient des croyances aux esprits, car c'est assez commun, mais il n'y a pas quand même beaucoup de monde. La plupart du temps, les personnes se moquent de ça, en mode c'est comme si SOS fantôme existe, et ne respectent pas du tout la croyance. And this is a question, by the way. They're after someone's reaction, someone's opinion. So if you didn't get any of this, I'll translate what it means. Je voulais savoir, I wanted to know, si des personnes, if some people, avaient des croyances aux esprits, if some people had beliefs in spirits. So je voulais savoir is perfectly correct. They're using the imparfait tense. So they were in the ongoing state of wanting to know. It's a completely correct use of the tense. Je voulais savoir. What did I want? Savoir. Savoir means to know. I wanted to know si des personnes, if some persons. It's a bit of a clumsy formulation, si des personnes. Because it's in a forum, I would have said if any of the users of the forum had any beliefs in spirits, avaient des croyances aux esprits. So I wanted to know if some persons had some beliefs in spirits. It's really very clumsy. Avaient, had des croyances, some beliefs aux esprits in spirits. Car, because c'est assez commun, mais il n'y a pas quand même beaucoup de monde. Because it's quite common. Car is quite interesting because when I look at the way of writing here, it comes across as spoken communication, but they are still respecting car, and I'm presuming it's because they learned it in school that when you write it's preferable to use car. And I see this often actually in teenage writing. People seem to respect car because it's more literary, it's more suited to writing, but they still write as if they were speaking, which is an interesting contrast stylistically. Car c'est assez commun, because it's quite common. Assez means quite, c'est assez commun, mais il n'y a pas quand même beaucoup de monde. And I have to admit, I don't quite know what they mean here. I think I have an idea of what they mean, but I'm not quite sure. Because I wanted to know if people, any of you readers of this forum, had beliefs in spirits. So in other words, do any of you believe in ghosts? Because I think it's quite common. I think they mean, because I think many people do believe in ghosts, mais il pas quand même beaucoup de monde, but there isn't a lot of people, and I have to admit I don't quite know what they mean. But there's not a lot of people. BCP is short. It's short for beaucoup, and this existed long before internet or texting. BCP is beaucoup. Mais y a pas quand même beaucoup de monde. I don't quite understand here what that person means. La plupart du temps, most of the time, so the most of the time, that's the way you say most of the time in French. La plupart du temps, the most part of the time, literally. Les personnes, the person, se moquent de ça, mock that. En mode, in mode, c'est comme si SOS Fantôme exists. It's as if Ghostbusters existed. SOS Fantôme is the translation of the film Ghostbusters. Et ne respecte pas du tout les croyances, and do not respect at all the belief. So most of the time, the person mock that, by which they mean ghosts, they mock the belief in ghosts. En mode, in mode, so they adopt the behavior as if, oh, you think Ghostbusters is real, do you? That's what this sentence means. So they're in mode. You know what? How it translates? It translates to be like. They be like. Oh, Ghostbusters exist, does it? That's what it translates to. En mode translates to be like. They be like. Ghostbusters exist. Et ne respecte pas du tout la croyance, and do not respect at all the belief. I think when I told you that this is the final boss of any language, you might be closer to believing me now. It's and I'm doing this without mocking at all the author of the language, because I do genuinely believe it's very interesting for any French learner to know what native speakers do in their own language. So let's get into this a bit deeper. Let's address a few of the mistakes that generate confusion. The first massive grammar mistakes is the negation on the first sentence. Mais y a pas quand même beaucoup de monde. Well, first of all, the sentence isn't really finished, the idea isn't complete, so this is why it's confusing. The negation, of course, il n'y a pas, the N is missing. Mais il y a pas, they should have written il n'y a pas quand même beaucoup de monde. But there isn't, despite this, a lot of people. Mais y a pas quand même beaucoup, y a quand même pas beaucoup de monde. I think the place of the adverb is probably in the wrong place here. Mais y a quand même pas beaucoup de monde. Mais malgré ça, yeah, what they should have written in proper French is malgré ça, despite this, il n'y a pas beaucoup de monde. There aren't a lot of people who, I don't know, openly say they believe in ghosts. It's very, what's the word? Implied. The meaning is really implied here. It's not easy, even for me, to understand what they're trying to get through. So I think they mean that despite this, it's quite common to believe in ghosts, but despite this, not a lot of people actually do say out loud that they believe in ghosts. Oh, we're starting to understand, you see, with a bit of work. Je voulais savoir si des personnes avaient des croyances aux esprits, car c'est assez commun, mais il n'y a quand même pas beaucoup de monde qui en parle ouvertement. Okay, there's not a lot of people who speak openly about this. Beaucoup de monde qui en parle ouvertement. That's what I said at top speed. Il n'y a pas beaucoup de monde qui en is the thing they speak about, qui en parle ouvertement, openly, ouvertement. The next mistake that's generating confusion here is les personnes. Well, yeah, les personnes should have taken an S because it's plural. Les personnes, of course, with an S. Se moque, well, ENT because it's a plural verb, so they forgot the ENT in the plural. De ça, now they wrote SA. Ça is a possessive. It's his or her. Ça. Like, for example, sa voiture, his or her car, because it's la voiture feminine. What they should have written is CA, ça, that. But they wrote it phonetically. De ça, se moque de ça. It should have been CA. It's a completely different word. It's like here and here. These are two completely different words, so I'm quite surprised that at that level they still write SA instead of CA and not seeing the difference between the two. Makes you wonder what kids are learning in school these days, doesn't it? En mode, c'est comme si, oh dear, c'est comme si, okay, c'est, again, they have no notion of distinguishing possessives, so c'est means his or her when you are the possessor of several things, like ses voitures, his or her cars, if someone has several cars. I couldn't find another example. So ses voitures is his or her cars if you possess several things. But what they mean to write here is c'est, C apostrophe est. It is as if, c'est comme si. C'est means it is. You see, but they're writing phonetically, c'est comme si. And by the way, this isn't teenage speak. This isn't like a hidden code that all teenagers understand. Not at all. It's just that this person here doesn't know the difference between ça, c'est, and they're just writing phonetically. Which doesn't say much for French schools, I might add. En mode, c'est comme si SOS fantôme existe. So they probably should have used quotation marks here to make it clearer. Bro be like, it's as if Ghostbusters exists. C'est comme si SOS fantôme existe. Existait. They should have said existait. It's as if it existed. Not in the present. C'est comme si SOS fantôme existait. That's the way they should have written it. Et ne respecte. So again, they should have written ENT. They don't respect. It's a plural verb. So these people do not respect. Ils ne respectent ENT. Pas du tout la croyance, the belief. Why la croyance, the belief? They should have said les croyances, the beliefs. You usually speak of the beliefs. There isn't one belief in ghosts that everyone knows about and that carries a name. You know, oh, the belief in ghosts that we... No. It's not a belief. It's... No. Doesn't qualify as a belief. And they probably meant les croyances des autres, the beliefs of other people. So to conclude this fourth episode, I'll read it one last time and probably point out a few more things. Je voulais savoir is correct. I wanted to know if, je voulais savoir si, des personnes, if some persons, it's a very clumsy formulation, if some persons had some beliefs in spirits, des croyances aux esprits, I would have said, je voulais savoir si vous croyez aux fantômes, or something like that. Si vous croyez aux fantômes. Yeah. Car c'est assez commun, it's quite common. I would have said c'est assez fréquent, it's quite frequent. C'est assez fréquent. Mais il n'y a pas quand même beaucoup de monde. And here, of course, the idea isn't finished. It's sort of implied. There's not a lot of people who openly say they believe in ghosts. La plupart du temps, most of the time, that's correct. Les personnes, I would have said les gens instead of les personnes. Les gens, people in general. So, les personnes are the individuals, but les gens are the people in general. You would say, oh, there's people in the street. What you would say, il y a des gens, there are people in the street. You wouldn't say, il y a des personnes. You wouldn't say there are individuals in the street. So les gens, it's the anonymous mass of people in general, les gens. So les gens se moquent de ça, not les personnes. Les gens se moquent de ça. It's, okay, grammar and spelling mistakes here. En mode, c'est comme si SOS fantôme existait. It's as if Ghostbusters existed. I'm surprised they actually know that reference, Ghostbusters. I remember when the film came out, it was the coolest thing ever. We had that. We had the EP. Et ne respecte. Et il. They probably should have repeated the subject here because there's a lot of distance between the initial subject, and I would have said et il ne respecte pas. Les gens ne respectent pas du tout. Yeah, you can't say la croyance. You can't say la croyance. They don't respect the belief as if it was something that was established, you know, the belief in ghosts. Not at all. Ne respecte pas du tout les croyances. Okay, well, and that goes to show, you know, and I'm doing this with a pure heart, with a clear heart. I'm not at all mocking the author of this question. I can tell they're a teenager, and I can also tell they're native speakers of French, but it just goes to show that even teenagers using their own native language find it hard to use French. So any teacher / school / promise of use French in whatever ridiculously short amount of time, I think not. My name is Chris. I hope you enjoyed this one. My name's Chris. I teach French at We Communicate. Thank you for watching. I hope it was entertaining. I hope it was useful. See you soon. Bye.